pounds in the black corner. From St. Louis,
Here comes Mr. Pro.
Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his licks in on the bruiser. Hulk Hogan.
Number one, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
His opponent weighing 236 pounds in the white corner. From Van Nuys, California.
Welcome into Retro Wrestling Rewind. This is episode number 29, folks. Yeah, that's right, folks. We made it past WrestleCon 2019. Yeah, it was. I'd say it was we had a good time. We made a lot of new fans. We gave out the gift basket. We still need to figure out who the hell won it. I have the guy's name. I just have to double check. But it was a great time. I mean, I know the only disappointment that you had, kind of recapping our WrestleCon 2019. We're not a podcast like other podcasts who cover the current product. If you want that, go to other podcasts. But I think your only disappointment was that you didn't get to meet your hero, Brian Pillman Jr.
That was very sad. He no-showed his photo op, not necessarily given a reason why. So I was kind of sad, but they did refund my money.
Well, that's good. I mean, you know who actually showed up on time early? The blue fucking meanie. Yeah, that's right, folks. We had the blue meanie. That dude was, he was beyond awesome. I mean, he was so nice. He was he was so gracious to the fans. And, he was there from 9 to 4 that Saturday. He just he did a lot of pictures, sold a lot of merch. And, it's interesting. This crazy business that we call professional wrestling. I went to get him down on the 3rd floor, as was, our meeting place. I was like, you know what? we're gonna have to get him signed in. Or nope, he's a legend in the business. People know who the hell he is. He was just like, he was just talking to everybody. It was just like, it was just another day at work. It was kind of surreal. I mean, it was, it was not as surreal as my evening with the great Bill Apter of the Apter Chats. I mean, singing karaoke. That was surreal. But kind of getting to our modern flair / other flair. You say that this show that we're covering this week was actually really good, and I say it was shit. Uncensored 1996. Before we get into the show, why would you say it was a good show? I mean, it was not bad. I mean, it was not good, but it wasn't bad. What say you?
All right. So if you want to see a show that's representative of this era of WCW, I'm talking about your pre-NWO WCW. So we're right at the tail end of the Hogan and Friends era here in WCW. And again, it gives a good snapshot of what WCW was all about at this time. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, or just gentlemen, because I don't think any girls listen to this show, unfortunately. If you do, hit me up on Twitter. If you go back to this time frame, understand this, that the WCW product was vastly superior to the WWF product at this time, and had been for almost 2 years, since the beginning of 1994. And that's not hyperbole. That's not opinion. That is straight up fact. There's nothing that can change that. Again, WCW is already winning the ratings war, and we continue winning the ratings war up until 1998. So just keep that in mind here. Now, what's crazy about the WCW roster here at the time, again, you have your Hulk Hogan shenanigans on top, and we'll talk about that in a second. But in addition to this, you get such good matches as Conan versus Eddie Guerrero, Fit Finlay versus Steve Regal, and then on the main event, you have Jerry Lynn taking on Dean Malenko. You have the Steiner Brothers versus the Nasties, which is always fun to watch, and this went to a no contest. And yes, there's lots of shenanigans and tomfoolery in the Doomsday Cage main event, which never works. Like, the Tower of Doom never works.
No.
Like, they did it 3 times. It never worked. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say something very controversial right now. So I want everyone to listen and pay attention. If they did Tower of Doom today, it would work. And here's why I say that. Because the way modern wrestling is, imagine 3 cages stacked on top of each other. Now imagine Roman Reigns spearing someone through the side of a cage. Imagine Ricochet doing 9 flips off the top of the cage. Imagine Shane McMahon getting chucked, to his death from the top of this cage. And I think the modern fan is more, willing to accept some of the shenanigans and tomfoolery that this match obviously has, just because of the stuff that they're normally subjected to. Would it be Elimination Chamber? Would it be TLCs? Or even the Hell in the Cell matches, where some of these gimmick matches are just insane at this point? Where in 1988, when the first one was introduced, and there was another one in World Class, which we will never ever talk about.
That's actually next week's show.
No, it is not. Shut up. The Ready to Rumble cage is the same cage, by the way, guys. Just keep that in mind. We'll never talk about that either.
But
WCW 2000, scary. But to go back to my point here, WCW at this time, strong undercard. And then you have your shenanigans with your stars on top. And let's be honest here. Is it bullshit that Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage beat 10 guys in the main event? Yeah, it probably is. I can assume the booking meeting went like this with Kevin Sullivan. Hogan's probably like, you know what, brother? I think me in the main event, and I'm going to beat the 4 Horsemen, and I'm going to beat the Dungeon of Doom, and it's going to be all over. It's going to be finished. And Kevin's like, man, Hulk, I don't know if we can really do that. I mean, that's a lot of guys. Well, all right, you can add in Randy. It's going to be me and Randy defeating everybody. But I tell you this. This is what most likely gave Hulk Hogan the ability to trust Kevin Sullivan. So when Kevin Sullivan goes, hey, you know what, Hulk, maybe it's time for you to turn heel, Hogan was more than willing to listen at this point.
Yeah, it kind of started. I was watching the Nitro before Uncensored. And, the shenanigans and tomfoolery started on there. it was...
Did they tell you where Pillman went? Where's Pillman?
No, they did not.
Pillman's supposed to be on this show.
I don't know, but all I know is that on the Nitro before Uncensored, they had it was supposed to be a match between the aforementioned and the formidable Loch Ness taking on the Total Package Lex Luger for the World TV title. But, of course, the Giant attacked the Loch Ness before, and so, of course... Lex Luger wins, by count out, and he's super excited. Holy shit. And then, I don't understand, okay, this could be semantics, and you can tell me to move on.
I want to explain it to you.
They had the next match was a standby match. How the hell do you have a standby match before the show, in the second match of the show? I don't understand that. This is shenanigans and tomfoolery abound in WCW.
Historically, standby matches should take place after.
If you run out of time, but that doesn't. I don't want to. What were your thoughts on the? Did you watch the Nitro before Uncensored?
I have watched the Nitro before. Now, I guess the big thing that happens there is that Lex Luger gets replaced by Booker T on that show. Is that correct? Because Jimmy Hart pulls him out of that match because Jimmy Hart is Lex Luger's manager.
Correct.
He pulls him out of the match, and he's now inserted into the Doomsday Cage. Sting doesn't have a partner, so Sting goes to Harlem Heat, but Sting has to promise Harlem Heat a title shot if they beat the Road Warriors.
It's a bunch of. Is this like armchair booking by everybody? It's shenanigans and tomfoolery.
It makes sense. First of all, there's this promo between Booker T and Sting, where Sting's trying to act black. And it's hilarious. It's a little cringy, but it's hilarious. Road Warriors are heels here, which was weird. And don't forget that Luger is a heel, but his best friend Sting's a babyface. And it goes back to one of my favorite angles of all time, this Sting and Luger relationship angle, where Sting's a babyface and Luger's the heel, and they won the tag team championship. But they do funny shit, like they do this thing where Sting's out in front, he's clapping hands with all the fans. And then he turns around, and then Luger's doing the same thing. He's slapping hands with all the fans. Then as soon as Sting turns around, Luger stops doing it. He's like, ew.
Yeah,
it's gross.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that's worse on that Nitro leading into Uncensored is the commentary team. What are your thoughts on WCW's commentating team? Back then, back in 1996. I mean,
Bischoff as a commentator, as a pure commentator, is not good. He wasn't good in the AWA. He wasn't good, in WCW before he gained control. But what he was good at doing was kind of explaining the stories that were happening. Because he's booking. He's not technically booking. Kevin Sullivan's booking, but again, he can kind of set the tone here and kind of explain what's going on. But he's not like a Schiavone level commentator. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like even Vince is better at commentating than Eric Bischoff. Yeah. And I think everyone likes the Brain, but the Brain is technically he's checked out mentally at this point. So he's not on his game. Every once in a while he'll have a good line here and there, and it's nothing. It's like whatever. And then when they go to the multi-hours, so when they started adding hours to the Nitro, they added Schiavone and Zbyszko. Zbyszko I really liked on commentary. I thought he did a really great job kind of explaining things. And Schiavone is Schiavone. He's great. And then when you add Tenay in for like the cruiserweight matches or the lucha matches, that gives you another added element. So I think overall the commentating, for the exception of Bischoff, is okay. Should have replaced Bobby at this time. I probably think Jesse Ventura in this era will probably have been better, but he's too busy being the governor of Minnesota.
Yeah, and I mean, he's another guy that you met at WrestleCon. Your experience was good with the former governor.
Yeah, he doesn't shake hands though. Yeah. He gives fish bumps because he's afraid of germs, which makes sense.
I mean, he is talking to wrestling fans who probably don't wash their hands, but that's neither here nor there. Let's kind of start off the show. Of course, like you said, they had they weren't technically dark matches. They were on main event, which folks, if you've come across those, just tweet us at the RW Rewind.
I swear I have it somewhere.
I mean, you have every other tape in God's creation it's probably somewhere in your garage, somewhere. But that's neither here nor there. We'll
next to my Tracy Lords tapes.
Next. Jeez. Anyway, the first match of the evening is for the WCW United States Championship. The champion's Conan, who was a young Conan at the time.
Lucha Conan. He's not Cholo Conan yet.
Taking on Eddie Guerrero, who's even younger. I mean, this is 1996. It's like I was like, this is a great match. I mean, it's
really good. I don't really like to finish all that much, but we'll get into that later.
I mean, I'm a big Eddie Guerrero fan, but after watching this match, it kind of pumps up my feeling that he was and probably is one of the greatest wrestlers that has ever put on a pair of tights. I mean, he's really good.
I 100% agree. And watching this match, you know who Conan reminds me of?
Who?
Conan reminds me of CM Punk.
Yeah.
Now this is why. They both have the ability to put on a 5-star match, but in a lot of their matches, they're very sloppy. Yeah. Like they're both very sloppy. And Conan, has the ability and the potential every time out to have a 5-star match, but he tends sometimes to get really sloppy.
Yeah. It was. This is 1996, so I'm not sure the ages. And I think Eddie was maybe in his late 20s, early 30s. I mean, he was really super.
Well, you remember Eddie Guerrero from 1989 WCW when he was a job boy. Yeah. He got beat up by Terry Funk. And then Conan's been a big star since, I would say, 90 in Mexico. I mean, he was. When people say that Conan was the Hulk Hogan of Mexico, that's legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, I remember sometimes on WCW he would just wear the mask. He wouldn't even take off the mask. I mean, he's gone through a lot of incarnations of Conan.
Well, when he lost the mask in Mexico, like that was a fucking big fucking deal.
Yeah. I mean, because it's who I forgot who it was. I was hearing recently on a show that I was listening to that a wrestler and his wife, would like go to the beach with their mask on. It was like they live the gimmick. I mean, it's like they don't want anybody to.
In Japan, there's been senators that are wrestlers that wear masks.
That's just.
And in San same thing in Mexico. Like the Lucha and Boxing Commission often has wrestlers on there with masks.
That's just funny. I mean, yeah, I mean this is a good match to start out the evening.
Good match. It's a babyface versus babyface match, and they did this finish where essentially Conan, and it looked weird when they did it. Essentially, Conan headbutts Eddie Guerrero in the crotch, and he gets the 1, 2, 3, kind of a cheap victory, kind of fluky. We've seen this finish before. I think the most notable was I know there was a match on Wrestling Classic where it was I think Davey Boy taking on another babyface, and the same thing happened. He crotched the ropes, and the referee called it. But I wish at this point they would have done a clean finish or done like a quick roll up finish instead of the kind of goofy headbutt in the nuts match. But this match overall is fantastic.
Yeah, it was 1996 WCW, and it was uncensored. But I mean, the next match, Belfast Bruiser taking on Lord Steven Regal with as they would call, as Bobby Heenan called him, Chives.
No, that was Dusty Rhodes, you clown.
Chives. I don't know who. It was. God, Dusty Rhodes. Speaking of Dusty Rhodes, I was on Twitter the other day, and somebody had a bunch of classic interviews from Dusty. Man, that guy could. His commentating was okay. But his promos were spot on. I mean, what were your thoughts on this match? I mean,
it's a good old style European type match. Again, we have Dave Finlay, who just recently made his debut. I think a couple of nights. I think it was 2 or 3 nitros before this. And then you have Lord Steven Regal with Jeeves, who is Superstar Bill Dundee.
Boy. See, folks, if you listen to the show every week, you learn a lot. I mean, and not to get off topic, we just started the show.
Or was that Sir William? I don't remember.
I mean, he went through so many names. I mean, I just actually just got his book and I started reading it. It's actually really good. I mean, it's
Superstars book. Yeah, he's fucking awesome. I mean, Jamie is out of his mind, but I
mean, what do you expect? He was part of PG-13. I mean, that's not.
Yeah,
we need to cover them one day, folks. If you want us to cover the great PG-13, hit us up on Twitter. And speaking of, you want to, we were, as we're rolling the tape tonight, you taped a brand new episode of your YouTube show. I mean, what have you been covering, and how can people follow you and watch your YouTube show?
Well, the last show that we cut was, talking about WrestleMania in general. We talked about WrestleCon. Our next show, we're going to dive into the new Viceland documentaries that just came out. So
yeah, those are actually
they're going to be fucking really, really good. And when Dutch Man tells you to watch something, you go fucking out of your way to watch it. So.
Is that the thing he whispered into your ear at WrestleCon?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it wasn't anything sexual. It was talking about that.
I mean, he had a mustache. I mean, he was.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but okay.
A porn stash? I don't know, but no. So I mean,
no, I wouldn't consider that a porn stash. Like Joey Ryan has a porn stash. Okay. Dutch Mantel has a crazy old person mustache.
Yeah, I don't want to go into Joey Ryan. It's just.
I know he's your favorite wrestler.
No, he's not. He seems like a nice dude. Almost.
Did you grab it for 30?
I did. When I was walking past him and we glanced and saw each other's eyes, I just grabbed it. And weirdly enough, most people scream when I do that. He didn't. It was kind of weird. But no, folks, seriously, if people want to find you on Twitter and on YouTube, how would they do that?
Okay, you want to go to RW Games on YouTube. So just type in Retro Wrestling Games Presents on YouTube, and you'll find me right there. And, we have over 300, can you believe it, 300 videos.
I do not believe that.
That's a lot. It's a lot. And then on Twitter, it's RW Games Present on Twitter. Again, a good follow. Right now, I have 5,547 real followers.
Real followers? They're not bots?
They're not bots. They're all wrestling fans.
I mean, that's a lot of wrestling fans. You think you ever get the stature of the? Of course, I should the people that were at WrestleCon that have the 1 million 1 million views, followers. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm trying to get verified. You should work on that for us.
I've been trying to do that. How is that going for you?
They've been locked down for like 2 months. They're not taking any more I guess I gotta wait till they open up again.
And hopefully we'll both get verified.
Blue check marks, homie.
Yes, and don't put a fake check mark or a fake something, because then they'll ban you from Twitter. It's a whole hijinks and tomfoolery.
I know you've been banned on Twitter a couple times.
I have. That's why I keep on changing my name and I get locked out of my account. But speaking of a match that should not have happened, it should have been locked out of the pay-per-view, Colonel Robert Parker taking on Medusa. I mean, this is...
Now, it's funny that a lot of people complain about intergender wrestling nowadays, but we used to say it all the time in WCW. Like, this is nothing new.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that Robert Parker, in this context, is not a professional wrestler, although he's one of the best professional wrestlers of all time. Robert Fuller is fucking awesome. But in this capacity, in terms of, the fans of WCW, he wasn't a wrestler. And Medusa, at the time, was probably the best North American female wrestler around at this period. I would say, I think that's legitimate.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll put her and Luna. I mean, in Japan, of course, they're doing crazy shit over there. But in terms of North American female wrestlers, yeah, I would put her on top there.
Yeah, I mean, and just and her, facing, Colonel Parker. I mean, it was just.
Well, they were doing this thing with him and Sherry and Medusa, and I don't remember if they ever resolved that between the three. Like, it was like a love triangle, and everyone's in love with Robert Parker because he's a big penis.
I mean,
that was the angle.
I'm sure he does, but I can't verify that.
Jump rope.
Huh?
Yes, you can.
Penis party, yeah, I know. But, kind of moving on, this next angle, which actually, I kind of have a backstory to this, where, of course, Diamond Dallas Page has lost all his money,
It's homeless DDP.
Yeah, he lost the booty babe, as she's called now. I remember when I was driving down in Atlanta, down near the CNN Center, where WCW, was that's where their corporate headquarters was back in the day. They were taped. I saw the great homeless Diamond Dallas Page panhandling for money. It was very sad. I tossed him a couple of pennies, and he yelled at me. So it was back in the day when they were doing it. What were your thoughts on?
You did that last week at his yoga studio.
I did. I did. I said $65 for yoga. I could go back to Atlanta and do it for free on a Tuesday. Oh, and he looked at me and just yelled. It was really weird.
You mean when you go to the Gold Club?
Well, I have another story about the Gold. Actually, it's not the Gold Club. It was called the Cheetah. In Atlanta. My dad, he said he was there on a business trip back in the mid-'80s,
yes,
shut up, 90s, where he met the Four Horsemen, and he got them to sign their autographs on a napkin. So the man who
now, does this napkin say the Cheetah Club on it? Because that would be fucking. I would want that, and I would frame that up.
I wish I still had it. I'm sure it probably did. It was Lex Luger, Ric Flair, all the horsemen at the time. I think
87.
I think Double A was there. It was back in the mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s. So
is the Cheetah Club still a thing?
Yes.
Because if I ever go to Atlanta, I want to go to the Cheetah.
Yes, it is, and yes, it is. The Gold Club is not, but the Cheetah is. So I drive by there every day when I go to church. But that's beside the point. That is beside the point.
Isn't it right next to a church?
Yes, and the Gold Club, which is no longer there, used to actually be a church, but it was a Gold Club, the church, and then something else now. But there's a
gun store, likely.
I mean,
Cheetah Club, church.
I mean,
gun store.
I mean, Atlanta has
a
lot of strip clubs. But when I was in New York,
it's a strip club, but it's the strip club capital of the world,
and the lap dance capital of the world. But that's beside the point. When I was trying to find my friends who were at a sports bar watching watching Auburn lose to Virginia when we were at WrestleMania. The sports bar that they were at was next to a gentleman's club / sports bar. Like, how? Yeah. That's just two great combinations. I mean, I didn't go in there, but
those are the ones that you can't wear sweatpants to.
Or pants. But I mean, that's beside the point. But yeah,
I took off my pants and you threw me out.
You took off your pants.
True story.
You took off your pants a lot at WrestleCon. It's weird.
Well, first of all, I think pants are the devil.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we have to wear them. And I just with my junk, I don't like, where is it supposed to go?
Yeah.
I don't like to be restricted.
Yeah, and kind of putting the pause on this match in the Uncensored 1996, kind of going back to WrestleCon. Is there anything that you would change about your experience at WrestleCon? I mean, there were a lot of legends there. I mean, that you couldn't meet everybody. I mean, would you change anything when you go to Tampa in 2020?
I don't think so. The only thing I really got to miss out was some of the notable Twitter fans that were around that I was trying to keep my eyes open for, that, you know, people that I like to follow on Twitter and I like to go over and say hey to them. But no, I mean, the only negative part of WrestleMania weekend for me was how cold MetLife Stadium got where we were sitting because of the way the wind was coming in. Like, it was ridiculous. It was very cold.
I mean, it was nice, but then when the breeze, when the wind came, it was cold, and I mean, and nothing like standing out for an hour and about 20 minutes to get on the freaking New Jersey Transit.
Well, there were some people that waited 5 hours to count your fucking blessings.
Yeah, and of course, you know, what's just kind of funny. Well, not that people had to wait 5 hours. But we were in the line in the crowd, and at the time, my dad said, "You know what? I would have paid $114 for Uber to not have to stand in a line for an hour and a half." I would have done that too, but you know, it's neither here nor there. But I mean,
I paid $60 to get back on the coach bus.
How did that whole experience? Go? I mean, it was
that was actually really cool because the coach bus is very comfortable, right? No issues there. I felt bad for the guy who was sitting next to me because
he was sitting next to you.
No, because he lost his buddy. His friend missed the bus. Oof. So he was stranded out in fucking MetLife Stadium with, like, his cell phone was about to die and shit, and you can't really re-enter the fucking stadium at that point. He should have charged his phone because there's charging stations all over the fucking the stadium, so he could have charged his phone. There was one right behind my seat.
Yeah, I mean, and there was so many charging areas and plugs in the suite I was in, but it was overall was a great time. I mean, I wouldn't do it again. I mean,
the lights didn't blind you. You didn't know
every once in a while, but it wasn't constant like yours. I mean, don't you kind of find it kind of odd that, I mean, people are asking for their money back from the WWE because there were a lot of people that couldn't see anything.
This wasn't the first time this has happened to me either. Happened to me at SummerSlam 2 years ago.
I mean,
and that light was worse because it was bright fucking orange.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that these things wouldn't happen if it was an indoor stadium, if they had it indoors?
No, because it happened to me. It happened to me at the Barclays. Okay. Like, it was fucking ridiculous. And stop fucking lighting the crowd like that.
Yeah, I mean,
either don't light the crowd or use regular fucking lights. You shouldn't be using color lights on the fucking crowd. You know this is an issue. They know it's a problem. Yeah. They get tweets all the time. I can't fucking see, blah, 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 blah. And it took us fucking chanting at the fucking light guy for him to turn it off.
Yeah,
and they eventually fucking turned it off.
I don't understand why they do that.
But we missed the entire Randy Orton AJ Styles,
which actually, surprisingly enough, was actually a really good fucking match. So.
Was it good? I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, and one more thing. I mean, in the MSG show, I mean, that was awesome. Except for your favorite wrestler, intervened in the match and kind of found out that it actually may be an angle. I imagine that. And heard New Japan was not even told about it. So, I mean, what were your thoughts on that?
No, New Japan's pissed. Yeah. At the time when the Enzo and Cass stuff happened, we weren't sure because we know like how fucked up Enzo is anyway. He already tried to fucking like they'd thrown him out of WWE shows. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we didn't know what to think. And then I'm hearing from the guys who are on the other side of the aisle from me that, oh shit, the fucking security guards are throwing fucking live shots at fucking Enzo. So we're thinking like it's a shoot. But then when Ring of Honor puts it on their fucking Twitter, everyone's like, oh, it's a fucking.
I mean, you know the place that Enzo did not get kicked out of, WrestleCon.
No, he had a long fucking line.
He had really. I guess when you're hot, you're hot. I mean, people want to buy your shit.
I mean, he's notable. He's fresh off of WWE TV. So like, I was surprised, but I shouldn't have been surprised.
You know who didn't have a long line? Virgil. I will never like him ever. I was not a fan of his before, but when my interaction with him when he was walking around like a homeless man, it was terrible. I mean, you know what? I'm not going to give him the time or the day. But anyway, speaking of the match, back to the unpause. We're back on Uncensored 96. The
Booty Man replaced Johnny B. Bad in this feud because Johnny B. Bad went to WWE.
Yeah, and so I mean, what were your thoughts on this whole Page Homos angle? I mean, his wrestling trunks look
the angle was fantastic. It's what made him.
Yeah, I mean, and
this whole thing made
his
him.
trunks look like they were ripped. It was. I mean,
it was great.
I mean,
they stripped away everything from him.
And I mean, and I can't remember what happened. I know he lost the match, and I mean, kind of a follow up. I mean, what happened to him with that angle? I mean, did they? I kind of block out this moment in my.
They kind of just end it with Kimberly, like DDP, like he doesn't turn babyface, but he becomes less of a dick. And Kimberly is like, I feel sorry for you, I still love you, and they end up going back together.
Yeah, man,
that's how they finish up this angle, because they had to end it because obviously the Booty Man wasn't going to be someone that's going to be, a long-standing stand-in for Johnny B. Bad, because Johnny B. Bad is gone. So eventually the Booty Babe does eventually go back to Dallas, and then she becomes a Nitro girl.
Yeah,
so that was it.
And speaking of the Booty Man, I mean, it's kind of funny how they, he was an insider for Hulk Hogan in the Dungeon of Doom. I mean,
yeah, that was a fucking recon.
I mean, which is, of course, I'm sure it was, and I'm sure it was an angle that they said, "Oh, this is gonna be great. You're gonna go wrestle in the Dungeon of Doom. We're gonna come up with this new gimmick," and then it was shit.
Well, because he was the original. He was the one of the original Three Faces of Fear. He got a fucking main event Starrcade match with him and Hogan.
Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake? Who, I'm sorry, show some respect. He is Hall of Famer Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake.
There was a 4-year period where Brutus was hot, 88 till when he got in the accident. 1989 Brutus is number 3 babyface in the company, and his work wasn't that bad. It was the before and after. 1985 Brutus is not good, and 1993 Brutus is not good. And for the rest of his career, he's not he's just a shitty fucking worker. And so the aftermath is because of his injury. We all respect the fact that he literally got his face fucking broken. And you can say what you want about Hulk Hogan. He is loyal to his friends.
Yeah.
Now, that can make interesting wrestling booking choices, but, his best friend was the Booty Man. The Booty Man was with him from the beginning. Before he was Hulk Hogan, biggest star in the world, it was him and fucking Brutus. Yeah. So, he's always been loyal to his friend. And then recently they've had some issues, but that seemed to kind of fix itself, and now they're friends again. Which is nice because, you can say what you want about Hulk Hogan, but he takes care of his friends.
Yeah.
And that's an admirable quality. He doesn't have many, and that's one of them.
No, he does not have many friends, but, it's I'll give it to, it's funny. No one attacked Brutus Beefcake at the Hall of Fame, but, that's
no.
That whole.
I'm pretty sure that was Shawn Michaels, the X-Fault.
Whoever it was, he got the ever living shit beat out of him.
Dash Wilder is the man.
He is the man, but
Dash Wilder for WWE champion.
Yeah, that'll never happen. The next match featured my 2 favorite wrestlers, the Giant and Loch Ness. I mean,
did you see that fucking bump the Giant takes in this match? Where he goes over the top? Holy shit. People forget how athletic he was before he gained all that weight.
Yeah, I mean, it's he was a skinnier version of the Giant back then. I mean, what were your thoughts on this match? I mean, it went 2 minutes and 30.
Terrible.
Yeah, but he's also 100 years old. I mean, it's I don't understand this whole angle with the Giant. I mean, he was better than that.
Well, Loch Ness was one of these guys that were brought in initially for the Dungeon of Doom, and then they really didn't do anything with him, and then they had basically the Giant fucking kill him.
Yeah, it was.
But do you see that bullshit fucking leg drop that fucking the Giant hit? He hit it with the wrong leg. It looked like fucking trash. I mean, obviously you couldn't get him up for a choke slam.
I know, because according to them, he was over 700 pounds, Loch Ness, which I don't.
Oh, his build weight was, he's a big dude. He's fucking 6'11", 6'99".
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia here.
Yeah, I mean, he's
fucking debuted in 1967 too.
Jesus God, he was.
He was 50 years old in this match.
God, that was. Yeah, he was old. But
I mean, But that's the thing about WCW at this time, because you would see fucking just weird shit.
Yeah.
You would like go back and watch some Thunders.
Yeah.
Like you'll see the strangest matches on there, and that's kind of the fun though of those shows.
And this is what happens when you have Kevin Sullivan booking. So,
Yeah.
I mean, who else was? Do you know who else was booking it? Was it just him?
It was him. I mean, they probably had a little bit of a committee. It was, I don't know if Greg Gagne might have been still there. Mike Graham, Dusty had input. Sullivan, Bischoff obviously had input. Hogan, because Hogan's creative control.
Yeah.
So he books his own stuff.
Yeah.
And did I say JJ?
No.
Probably JJ.
No.
JJ Dillon.
God. Oh, speaking of JJ, yeah, I had my encounter with him. He almost ran me over because he was very confused and he didn't know where he was going. So, but I tried to help him, but then he just ignored me. It's like, I don't know. He was like, "Oh,
as he should have."
Listen here, buddy. You know who didn't ignore me? You. You probably now wishing you had, but that's neither here nor there. You're like, "Oh, look," and then you said, "Hey, look, your dad's so cute." I told my dad that. He just laughed, dude. He was like, "Hey, I mean,
Your dad is cute."
I mean, he stands out at a wrestling match and wrestling event. He wears nice.
Well, yeah, because he has the slacks. He has the dress jacket.
Yeah.
Looking completely out of place, but in an awesome way.
I know. But speaking of a match that was,
he really did class up the joint.
And surprisingly enough, the guy who was watched wrestling since the mid '80s, wanted fucking WrestleMania 7 hours to get fucking over. My dad was like, "Yeah, it didn't seem like very long." I'm like, "Really?" It was 7 fucking hours. It was a long show. I mean.
And you got there before I did too.
We got there at about 4:30. We were let in, so we were there a long time. What time did you end up getting there?
I got there I would say 5 and we got there. I got there a good 15 minutes before the show started.
Yeah,
I got it. But what I do, because I'm smart, because I don't like to get up and I hate the feeling of I gotta use the bathroom or I want to get something to eat. And I'm in the middle of the row, and I gotta make everyone fucking stand up. And so I usually get my food before, and then I eat it before I go to my seat. And then if I have, I buy 2 drinks, and then if I have to, hey, if there's a popcorn dude, I'll snag him or whatever, because I don't like to get up very often and disturb the people next to me because I'm not a douchebag. But the people in front of me didn't care. They just fucking got up 100,000 times and. I don't know how many beers they drank. They must have spent $1,000 worth of beer because the beer is not cheap.
No, it was.
I never got the point. I never got the point of getting smashed at a wrestling show, so you pass up by the main event.
Yeah, the I didn't get a beer, but I got a cider. It was like $15, and it was. It's kind of like buying soda at the. You were smart. You brought soda because you came in from Long Island. My dad and I bought a couple sodas at the hotel. It was fucking $4.50 for a bottle of soda when you could buy it. I'm like, I told my dad, I was like, it's $4.50. He's like, yeah, I want 2 or 3 more. I'm like, okay, whatever. You're paying for it. But speaking of, this is kind of go back to old versus new. Back in the day, the pay-per-views and the shows were not 5-6 hours. They were 2, maybe 3 hours. And they had quality stuff. Why do you think that was? I mean, what was the mentality back then compared to now? I mean, what are your thoughts?
There's a perceived quality on a lot of these shows because we didn't get main event matches or star versus star matches very often on television. So you would have your Saturday main events, your Clash of Champions, and then your 4 to 5 pay-per-views per year. And then on TV, and there's a part of me that wishes that they could go back to just squashes. But I know that's impossible. Yeah. But for me personally, seeing Hulk Hogan on pay-per-view is a big deal because you only saw him wrestle 5 times a year. Yeah. And when Hulk Hogan came to your town, you would have to buy a ticket if you want to see him, fight the big boss man.
Yeah, I mean.
So that's why it works. I mean, during this period now, they're making the change over to more star versus star matches, but there's still not necessarily a ton of star versus star matches like you would think because if you watch some of the early night shows, it's a lot of mid-card versus mid-card guys matches that are really good, but you would get Hogan's thing in the main event versus the Giant and fucking the Barbarian. And that's like a big fucking deal. And nowadays, you see Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley 16 times on TV, and then when they go to pay-per-view, no one gives a shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just back then, I mean, I love the internet and I love, all that kind of stuff now, but like back in the day when you didn't have that, when you actually had to watch the television, I think the product, the boys knew that the finishes, the innings, the results were not going to be given away. They could be taping, like.
I don't think it hurt. I don't think spoilers hurt wrestling. Like people think spoilers hurt wrestling. I don't think spoilers hurt wrestling.
You don't think they do?
Not a fucking bit. Now the only way that a spoiler will hurt your show if you have a bad fucking show. Yeah. Like if you have fucking Gargano versus Ciampa and you know the result, but you're still gonna go watch that fucking match because it's fucking Ciampa and Gargano, and it's like a 6-star match. Now I have to fucking see this match. That's where spoilers can help you. Because now, like, you got to see what fucking happened. Like, what do you mean what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking this, that, and the other thing happened. Like, it didn't hurt when WCW was giving away Raw fucking results. It didn't hurt Raw. The thing that hurt Raw is that Raw sucked.
Yeah.
Like, we had, like WCW TV, like, their fucking TV was shot fucking... like 9 weeks in advance. They would have negative title changes.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I would go to Center Stage to see WCW, and they would have, a couple of tapings at one time. Like I said before, they'd have one time Harlem Heat would be tag team champions. The next set of tapings, which were the same day, maybe 2 hours later, the Steiner brothers would be champions. You'd be like, huh, this is weird. And of course, you would have this would be between a pay-per-view or whatever, because they only had one pay-per-view every 6 months, but I mean, what are your thoughts on?
Well, look at WWF TV back in the day. Yeah. 6 hours, right? TV taping. And that's like 6 weeks worth of TV. Yeah. Now imagine you sat through WrestleMania. Imagine 6 hours of fucking squash matches. Ooh.
But okay, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. People hate on Impact and whatever the hell it was called. They would tape in advance, and then like someone would get hurt, they couldn't really change the angle or whatever. But back in WCW's days, they did that all the time, and no one. Was it because it was now because of social media and people? You think that way?
I think social media used the right way could be fantastic. It's just that what we have now in terms of social media in general is a few people who really know what they're talking about, and the vast majority of people not knowing shit, not trying to learn, and just talking shit. So there's a lot of negativity on social media in regards to all fandom.
Yeah.
Not just professional wrestling. You go look at Star Wars, you look at movies in general, lots of negativity on social media in general because people like to be dickheads.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line because Alex G said so. So, speaking, this next match was a Chicago street fight. The Road Warriors taking on Sting and Booker T.
My favorite part is this is promo. I think it's on fucking Nitro, where Sting and Luger talking about the Chicago street fight, and Sting says something to the fact is like, "Well, you're from Chicago." Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, I'm from the suburbs."
Yeah. He's not from Chicago, actual Chicago. It's kind of like someone saying they're from Atlanta, but they live in Macon or some.
Well, he's not even from fucking Illinois. He's from Buffalo.
Yeah, I know. So what were your thoughts on this match?
Can we talk about the Road Warriors? Now, people say I'm crazy. They often say I'm crazy.
Yeah, to your face?
To my face. Very often. But I believe that the Road Warriors were no longer relevant since
82,
1990 fucking 2, maybe. Yeah. I can make a case that they were no longer relevant once they entered the WWF, but that's all in this scenario.
Do you think they would have been?
They should have split up. Number one, and they should have been repackaged, and they never did. So you have this dated, old ass Road Warriors in 1996 who no longer have the music, who no longer have the black pads, who no longer have the mystique. And they weren't the type of workers that they weren't the Rock and Roll Express and they weren't the Midnight Express. So they're having they're not indestructible anymore. What the fuck are they? And they lost a lot of that. So yeah, every once in a while they have a cool match with the Nasties. So they have the Steiner brothers. That's interesting. But for the most part, this run here, and then when they go back to WWF and Hulk is drunk and he's falling off the Titantron and shit like that, they just were no longer relevant, and they were no longer anything. And you kind of felt bad for the Warriors. Although probably in 1993, they probably should have been repackaged. I know Animal was hurt. But even Hawk as a singles was always Road Warrior Hawk, and he just never felt the need to change.
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I was a big Road Warriors fan back in the mid '80s, but I mean, when they came to WCW, I do agree their run in the WWF. It's just they were great in the AWA, they were great in the NWA. I mean, they were great in everything. I mean, just in New Japan or Japan, it was. And when they tagged with Dusty,
if they were going to stay the Road Warriors, they probably only should have worked Japan.
Yeah.
Because at least they could work that fucking style over there and get over, and they could have matches with fucking Dr. Death and Terry Gordy, or Stan Hansen and Pick a Partner, or they could have had those matches over there, and they did for the most part. But when they came over back to the States, they were like,
yeah.
I love the Road Warriors. They're one of my favorite tag teams.
Yeah, I mean, they're really. I mean, they were part of my childhood. Speaking of something that I wish was not a part of my childhood, this main event.
Booker T. Oh
no,
we're not going to talk about how the Harlem Heat are now WWE Hall of Famers
2 times,
and how.
Well, I mean, Booker T is 2 times.
Well, where is Big T and Clarence Mason, or Jay Biggs if you want to be a jerk about it, or Cassius?
Yeah.
Where's the rest of Harlem Heat? What was the girl's name? I forget her name.
I don't know.
There was a girl involved, and Booker T and Big T had a feud over the letter T. You remember that?
No, I do not remember that.
That's WCW 2000 for you.
I mean, wasn't Booker T's wife involved somehow in Harlem Heat?
Charmel, was she a Nitro girl?
I think she was. I mean, I think Shivani was a big fan of hers, but
Charmel wasn't a Nitro girl. Maybe she was. I mean, I know that Shawn Michaels' wife was a Nitro girl.
Yeah. I mean, the only Nitro girl I really liked was Kimberly. I mean, she was.
Oh, you ever seen that pictorial she did with Dallas?
No.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, I bet you will. Is it going to be after we watch that? What's that name of that promotion that's a shit promotion that you want to cover one time? Oh God, that has a bunch of
XPW.
Yes. We should cover
the worst wrestling I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, hey, I see
like that in WCW 2000, in general.
Hey, is a freight train coming to your house tonight?
Ice train,
freight train, one of those trains. But going on to the main event, it was a Doomsday Cage match. Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man Savage defeated Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Ming, the Barbarian, Lex Luger, the Taskmaster, Z Gangster, the Ultimate Solution with Woman, Miss Elizabeth, and Jimmy Hart. What were your thoughts?
This match went on way too long.
Yeah.
It made, first of all, here's the problem with this match. No one knew the rules. What were the rules?
Yeah. I don't know.
All right, so you get past Flair and Anderson, who were in the top cage, and then you go to the next cage, and it has the Barbarian, Lex Luger, and the Taskmaster, and then they go after Savage and Hogan get past those guys, and then they start rolling outside the cage, but they never go into the main ring cage. Well, first of all, let's talk about the setup of the ring.
Yeah.
The cage and the ring, they had another ring.
Yeah.
And the entranceway. Mm-hmm. So the cage is in the entranceway with the ring, and they're all set up there too. And they have the normal ring. And then at one point in the match, they go kind of into the normal ring for no reason because they fight outside the cage, which is odd. That makes no sense. And you don't know what's going on because not even the. I don't think Hogan and Savage knew the rules. That's why it didn't work. I guess you're supposed to fight your way down, and then But then Flair and Anderson escaped the cage anyway, and it's a fucking mess.
Yeah, it was a clusterfuck. I mean, it was
a mess, and they kept on calling Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage the Mega Powers,
Yeah.
but Michael Boston called them the Mega Force.
But you notice that they had it on their trunks. They had Mega Powers, which is
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they don't own that.
No.
I'm pretty sure the WWF owns that.
I think it was kind of an FU to the WWF at the time. So I mean, it's just like
And then Savage gets the pinfall on Flair after Luger punches Flair with a loaded glove.
yeah. I mean,
Booty Man comes in and gives frying pans. Which is weird.
what were your thoughts on kind of
On Woman, looking all the way live.
no Z Gangsta?
You don't like Woman?
Oh no, I love Woman.
Oh.
She was hot.
Zeus,
God.
you know.
I mean, what were your thoughts on him? He was of course.
There's so many thoughts on him, and we got to talk about him when we cover SummerSlam 89, Survivor Series 89, WrestleMania 6.
Yeah.
Because he's all, he was supposed to be in the main event WrestleMania 6, and he wasn't.
It was just.
He's not a wrestler.
No, it all came from that damn movie that him and Hulk Hogan were in.
No Holds Barred, which we should do live commentary over.
Yeah, Yeah. Sounds like a terrible idea.
What's that smell?
That sounds like a terrible idea. We should do it.
Dookie.
Oh, God.
So tell me about the Ultimate Solution, who originally was the Final Solution, but they figured out that was racist. Yeah. So they went with the Ultimate Solution, which again is probably another, we have the Ultimate Solution, and people like, it's the Ultimate Warrior, but it's not the Ultimate Warrior. It's Jeep Swenson.
What were your thoughts on him?
On Jeep Swenson? He was good in that Batman movie as Bane.
But not as a professional.
He wrestled in World Class. I seen him over there. Yeah. Like, he's just a big fucking jacked up dude. And, he couldn't really work, and he died in the next year anyway.
Yeah, it's
So it's like he's 6'4", 405 pounds.
Yeah.
So
you think that would work as a professional wrestler, but not so much.
He was also in No Holds Barred, according to Wikipedia here.
God, who the hell was this? A No Holds Barred reunion? I mean, really? Hulk Hogan?
All they needed was Stan Hansen.
I'm sure he was. But
you remember Stan Hansen and No Holds Barred?
I think so. I try to put that.
And the fucking midget dude from Game of Thrones is in there too.
They're little people. Midgets. That's
a
a derogatory comment, buddy.
Says who?
I don't.
Euphemism treadmill.
It was. I think you were the one who said that they thought they saw Hornswoggle at WrestleCon.
He was there.
No, it was another midget. Little person. I could.
He was there. So you'll tell me that there was another little person selling Hornswoggle's booth.
Oh.
Book at the booth.
Oh, I probably was him. I was talking. There was another person who was another little person. It may have been Hornswoggle that I saw outside, but that's beside the point. What were your thoughts on your overall grade on this?
Hey, I got another question.
What?
So, what year did you think Miss Elizabeth got breast implants? Was it 96? Because she didn't have those Hooters in 89.
I think it was 95.
No, I'm serious. Like, when did that happen? Like, you think it was before or after Randy's divorce?
After.
You think she used his alimony money to buy fake boobs?
Yep. And did you? Speaking of Miss Elizabeth, the first, I think it's the first episode of that the Viceland show, the documentary.
Second.
Sorry.
First one was broke.
Oh well, then, I don't know. My recording is wrong. It says episode 1, but that's why I probably didn't see Brody. What were your thoughts on that? I mean, I know you're going to be going to that in detail on your show, but
Hulk Hogan says it's inaccurate. That's what he said. It's fair. I mean, all right. If you're not a crazy obsessed wrestling fan, you're gonna find it real fucking interesting, right? If you're like me, you start fucking picking it apart, looking for fucking inconsistencies or stuff that just didn't happen. Much like the Andre the Giant documentary, the Ric Flair documentary that came out in the last couple of years. If you're me, you start picking that shit apart. Overall, they're well produced, well done documentaries. I like to see, the screw job one looks really interesting to me. That's because Cornette, and I think Vince Russo's on that show too. So they're going to be talking about it. So that seems interesting to me overall. The Brody one, there's no new information that came up. I'm surprised they didn't get Savio Vega because he has some real interesting takes on that. They got Dutch and they got Tony Atlas and Abdullah. And, like there's stuff that's wrong. Like Tony Atlas says he fought the Sheik at that show. He didn't fight the Iron Sheik at that show because Iron Sheik wasn't on that show. Like it's stuff like that that's like, that like it really, it gets in my crawl. Because like I've seen the poster and the lineup for that show, and it's incorrect. So, like Brody was fighting Dan Spivey that night.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like something that we should we should after all the episodes are we're gonna definitely.
I mean the Brody shit is like, it's just fucked up. It's just like. It's like one of those things, and I'm surprised they didn't do a Benoit one. Are they doing a Benoit one? I gotta see if they're doing a Benoit one.
They should.
But, like, the Brody thing makes you ashamed that you like wrestling. Because it's, like, so fucked up.
Then I should probably not watch it, but...
Well, no, it's wrestling history. Yeah. I mean, I've done shows about it.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before, but it's, like, it's so fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, it's wrestling. I mean, it's...
and, like Nancy Benoit's on this show. I think, where is Chris? Chris is in Japan during the show, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. Pillman is supposed to be in this match, this Doomsday Cage match, but he's not here.
Maybe he was with his son. Oh, I'm sorry, he wasn't born then. I know, but hey, get your money back. That's all that matters. But I mean, your overall rating between 1 and 10, what would you give this clusterfuck of a show, Uncensored 96?
Using the WCW scale, I would say it's 7.
Huh.
On the WCW scale.
I'd give it a 5. That's just, but.
Is it because of Jim Duggan and Big Bubba?
Yes, I'm a big Jim Duggan fan, and
hey, I got a question for you. I was listening to another podcast, and one of the hosts called Jim Duggan the special needs Hulk Hogan. Do you think that's an accurate description of Jim Duggan? That phrase literally made me do a spit take. The character of Jim Duggan, not the man Jim Duggan. The 2x4 wearing, American flag ho Jim Duggan. Is he a special needs Hulk Hogan?
Yes.
Because Jim Duggan, let's be honest. We'll talk about Jim Duggan. We both met him. Great guy. We love Jim. We love, his wife was super cool. His daughter was there. We met them at WrestleCon. Awesome. And I'm a big fan of Jim Duggan in Mid-South. Like, he was awesome. Top babyface. Jim Duggan in Mid-South is very different than Jim Duggan in WWF.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So at first, it looked like they were going with Jim Duggan pretty much as he was, like before he got caught with the marijuana on the turnpike. When they brought him back, after, like, he had that really good feud with Andre that was fucking awesome. And then by the time you get like 90, 91, 92, 93, like he's a real caricature of himself. And he did have a little bit of resurgence in WCW, winning the United States Championship from Steve Austin.
and speaking of Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I had not a run-in with him, but I saw him. He was and imagine that, he was in one of the bars at our hotel, and he was talking. There's another wrestler there, and I was like, God, you ever have that moment where you know the person, but you can't put the name to their face?
Yeah.
It was the great Genius. He was drinking some wine with the great Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and it's kind of one of those things.
Who was that? Because you cut out.
Huh?
Can you repeat yourself? Because you cut out.
The great Genius, Lanny Poffo, was hanging out with the great Hacksaw Jim Duggan at our hotel, sipping some wine. It's kind of like that's folks, kind of in the show, going back to WrestleCon. That's why you have to go to these conventions. Yeah, I mean, you pay to get autographs, you pay to get the photos, but you get to see these people in their kind of natural habitat. It's kind of like seeing an animal in their natural habitat. If you're staying at the hotel like we did, that was a great place to see people. I mean, it was, I loved having WrestleCon at the hotel that we were staying at. It was so convenient. I mean,
Remember when I took Emma's suitcase down the stairs?
Oh yeah, I mean,
and she was eternally grateful.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, well, folks, okay. The only reason he took it down was because the fucking the stairs, the moving
escalator.
The escalator, as they would call it in the big city, was not working. Imagine that. It didn't fucking work. And I remember one time they had that escalator broken. It was getting worked on by somebody. They had everyone walk up and walk down on the same escalator. That was a pain in the ass. But yeah, she was eternally grateful.
Yeah, me and Scorpio Sky were like, what the fuck's going on?
No, no one else was volunteering to take this big ass, was it heavy?
Yes.
Suitcase down for her. She was going to go try to find some other way to get down there, which I don't know how the hell she was going to get down. I mean, there was a freight elevator she could have taken down, but that's beside the point. The great Alex G, the Long Island IZ, was like, I'll carry it down. Like, of course you're going to carry it down because you're the man. So,
yes.
I mean, she was all the way live. I just have to tell you that. So she's, but yeah, I mean, it was a great weekend. And this show, I mean, like I said, I gave it a 6. I mean, and you want to know, folks, what we're covering next week on Retro Wrestling Rewind? I actually just did the old, there's an app on your phone, an app on the internet, or a search engine on the internet.
Where do we have? Is the app live?
We are not live, but folks, it's breaking news. We don't have an iOS app yet, but my developer's working on that. But we have the Android app, which will be launching, I'd say, in the next month. He just kind of got to get some bugs kinked out, and we'll be.
If you get the Retro Wrestling Rewind app, it will give you daily dick pics from myself.
Well, I mean, that's in the bonus section. That's the stuff you have to pay for, right? It's in the subscription part, right? No, but no, that actually.
I thought it was free forever.
Please don't send them to me. God. But no, folks. But seriously, our Android app is going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. We'll be having, it's going to be great. I mean, I've seen the working version. We've seen some working versions of some other things that we will not reveal right now. Some other things that are in the works. Some games that we will not mention right now. But I know you loved it, and I've been seeing the app. It's so awesome. I mean, you can download it on Android on the Google Play, or however the hell you Android people download their shit. I don't know. I'm an iOS guy, so however you do it. I know you're an Android guy, so you'll be able to test this. You'll be one of the first guinea pigs. I mean,
because people who use Apple products are stuck up.
Well, I mean, you did meet my father, but he was, and you met me, so I mean, that's beside the point. But I'm glad. I am not regretting. I wanted to take my entire Mac to WrestleCon. I'm glad I didn't, because our table was a normal 6-foot table, but when we had the Blue Meanie taking up the entire half of the table, we would not have fit in there. But maybe next year we get 2 tables. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But
we'll stack them one on top of the other.
Yeah. Will they be gimmicked? No, they will not be.
No.
But speaking of next week, I was going on this tangent. I typed in Google. I said random WWE Network show generator. And you know what we're going to be covering next week? We're going to be covering WrestleMania 10 from 1994, Sunday, March the 20th, 1994. It was in New York City, Madison Square Garden. You know that place. You were there last Saturday. What are your thoughts on WrestleMania 10?
I have a lot of different thoughts on WrestleMania 10. First and foremost, you have the ladder match with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, which is fantastic. You have the fantastic and glorious Bret Hart versus Owen Hart match, and then you have the main event where it's Bret Hart taking on Yoko. We're not going to talk about the Lex Luger Yoko match because that's bullshit.
Yeah, no. And speaking of Razor, did you see Scott Hall at WrestleCon?
I missed him.
Whew, man, he looked rough, but I mean, he's getting up in age, and I mean, he He did.
He was at WrestleMania. Him and Nash had a segment.
Yeah, and you know who also had a segment? Ric Flair. But that's
Hulk Hogan.
Oh, God.
Are you surprised that Hulk Hogan got such a good reaction?
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that he fucked up the name of
the MetLife Center.
Oh my God, I'm kind of glad that Heyman just kind of interrupted that hijinks and tomfoolery.
Well, you heard about that shit, right? Supposedly
Hogan didn't know anything about it.
Would state that they switched around the whole show because Brock was not necessarily happy about waiting around 7 hours to drop his belt. So he demanded to go on first.
That
could be just bullshit.
I mean, would you want to stay around 7 hours?
No.
Knowing that you're going
he's going to go home and have sex with Sable. I mean, for fuck's sake.
I mean, he probably did that before the show was even over. I mean, Jesus Christ. Anyway.
You never see her anywhere. By the way, you never see her. Like you'll see like wrestlers' families at shows. Sometimes they'll show them backstage or whatever, or like ringside.
Yeah, you never see her.
Rena Lesnar, you don't see ever.
Yeah.
Like she is hiding in whatever cabin he has in fucking Canada.
God, I mean, would you want to be seen with Brock?
Well, I mean, he's a rich dude.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got the point. But for the great Alex G, as always, I am David Fine. We will see you back here next week where we cover WrestleMania 10. That'll be episode number 30 right here on Retro Wrestling Rewind. We will talk to you in the past. See you next week.
238 pounds in the black corner. From St. Louis,
Here comes Mr. Pro.
Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his legs in on the bruiser. Hulk Hogan.
Number 1, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
His opponent weighing 236 pounds in the white corner. From Van Nuys, California.